So yeah, and you're in the woods, or what is it? Your daughter's in the woods, or you have to leave your daughter in the woods. What is the scenario? All I know is that it's like, would you rather leave your daughter?
Are you, as a woman, feel or something?
Right. There are a lot of like situational. There's a lot of situational aspects to that. Like, is it a man that I know? Is it a? Now it's a game. Look what you did. Yeah, the bear. Is it okay? Is it a man that I know? Is it? No, that doesn't matter. Actually. All right. Is it a black bear?
Careful.
No, is it a black bear or is it like a fucking grizzly bear? Or the polar bear?
Okay, that's talking about bear.
Yes, I am talking about bears. Oh. Like, if it's a brown bear, I'm not as concerned. And yeah, I might choose the brown bear over the man. If it's a stranger. The bear. Next question.
I mean, I think it's a silly question. I mean, I get the premise.
I think it's a baited question.
Yeah, it's very much a loaded question. Like, the premise is like, oh, men are dangerous. You don't understand that men are dangerous. You don't understand why, then you're dangerous. I think it's just like, let me rephrase that. If you lost your daughter in the woods, would you rather her find a man or a bear?
A man. Bears can.
Yeah, right. Like, it's a loaded question. Yeah, guys can be guys. Hurt more women than bears do, right? But women hurt more men than bears. It's a loaded question. I saw people talking about how, like, if you don't get it, question part of the problem. Like, what?
Right, if you don't understand what the question is leading to.
I don't understand why you need to find, like, not good that men are scary and can be afraid of men. Like, I think it's just a stupid oversimplification.
Yeah, I mean, it's an oversimplification, and it's a loaded question. It's a loaded question on purpose. But I don't think it's meant to. I will say that I don't think it's meant to outright say that men are a problem or that all men are dangerous. I think it speaks to the position that we're in right now, where our country is moving backwards, and it's not something that affects men. I'm sorry, but it's not, because if a man decides he doesn't want to have a child, he can just step away. But a woman is left with a lot of choices. Or at least we used to be left with a lot of choices.
I think that's completely valid, and I understand that. And I do think that we're moving backwards in some ways. Like, I'm happy to see that most of the states that I'm aware of that have been voting for like the whole kind of like back themselves.
Be maintaining it.
Yeah.
Like keeping the choice.
Keeping.
Yeah. Right.
So, like, that's good that the states are deciding that way. I think it's foolish to ever leave it up to that, but regardless, what bothers me about it is, and I'm not trying to equivocate that, but it's like these kinds of conversations make it feel like I can't, like, if I'm walking down the park and they're just going to be afraid of me, like I'm just supposed to be I'm dangerous, or like I'm approached with, like, I hate that that's like a prejudice, because it's like and I've seen people say too that, like, I don't trust a guy when I see a guy alone. Like, if he has like a child, then like, oh, okay, it's okay now. And it's that kind of perception that, like, I would like to change for both parties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think their first reaction, I don't like that, not be like, I just it's shitty all around. I'm not saying that the consequence bias, which is prejudice, as the women might. I don't see the point of the question. I think it being a trend is just clickbaity and is just rage bait.
Yeah.
To get people to be all like, get like all like the men's rights activists going crazy, like the incels going crazy.
Of course. I mean, I don't want to say that it's dumb. I don't want to agree. I understand your take on it being dumb, on it just being clickbait, but we've hit that season. June 24th, 2022, Roe v. Wade was overturned, and so we've hit that season, not to mention what's going on in Gaza. So on top of his this new season, all right, June, summer. Also June is LGBTQ awareness, and on top of all that, the world is politically on fire. You know, we've got Gaza, which is wrong in a million different ways, and I think on a socio-political level, Americans feel angry but also helpless in the idea of like we can't change what's happening even though we would like to. So creating, clickbait and rage bait around areas that are issues like women losing autonomy and losing rights, moving backwards, it creates an easy way to just remind people that's going on right now that shouldn't be, and shit is going on right now that needs to be fought for and fought against. Wherever we can, the people of our nation, the actual people of our nation, not the idiots running our country, we can keep the people of the nation reminded of what is going wrong, what's moving backwards, while, we have smartphones in our hands and everything else pretty much sucks. That elsewhere, people are dying. And politically, we are losing rights. And if we're supposed to be this world leader, then that doesn't look good for the whole world. Is America actually the world leader? No, we're one of many first world nations. But I think other parts of the world look at us as like, all right, well, what's going on over there? Is that going to be what happens next elsewhere? I hope it's not. I don't think it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it is because I don't think a lot of parts in the like first parts of the world are as messed up as we are.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think.
No, I agree.
I don't think they necessarily want to follow the way we do things. I think they want our economy. Like they love our GDP, but I don't think culturally other countries are necessarily saying like let's be more like America. Like I don't think we are that shining, on a hill.
Right.
I think our military power is to be envied. Our economy is, but other than that,
not even our. I mean, at least from like the perspective of everyday people.
I'm speaking as a nation, like
Mm.
from one nation to another. Like France would love to have America's GDP. Value of the dollar. Every country would like their currency to have the same value. That's what I mean. I'm not saying
right. So like the value. Okay.
Yeah,
I follow now.
Yeah, I mean, like even if we wanted like Norwegian, democratic socialism, like Norway would still love to have like the power of our fiat, but when it comes to like culture and social issues, I don't know if we are envy of the world.
No, that's what our
civil like the whole OECD nation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people realize that we're not, but I also think we're like breaking through the shell that we've been like our knowledge of the first world countries like has been so insular that we have been led to believe that America is the best. I think that shell is cracking. I mean, I think it's been cracking for years, but I think it is thinning and cracking a lot faster within the last couple of years. I don't know where I was going with that. I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I guess just to the point that for a long time, I think American media has been able to create an insulated concept that feeds to the American people that like we are number one across the board and nobody else, nobody else could be us. And that insulation is thinning and cracking. I hunger for revolution.
No, it's I think that's been going on for a while. I don't think the media is necessarily that like we best because I mean
I don't think they're saying that. I'm not saying they're saying that. I'm saying that our perspective of what's happening has been insulated and cushioned.
like okay, okay, yeah, you're talking about you're talking about like media propaganda, manufacturing content, that type stuff.
I guess so.
That the media that we can insulates us from everything else except for areas and except for events and policy that directly benefit the American, government, military, industrial
Right.
complex, and
Right.
okay,
Yeah. And probably as well any other outside events that make us look better. Like specifically the war in Iraq, that has been, I feel like it's been directly, the news has been for a lot of our adolescence and childhood directly what's happening in the nation, and then the war in Iraq. Hard stop, because the war in Iraq looks terrible. And so, yay, Americans are free. Thank you, soldiers and government and army and military, for what you do to keep us free. Look what's happening over there.
yeah, no,
Hard stop.
I think that's because we generally don't really have a effective, or we're really taught to have a critical, American think like talking about negative consequences of American imperialism is like a super taboo thing because as soon as you start to do that, it's paint you as anti-American, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you can be patriotic and like want your country to be better and want your country to be the best that it can be without like just assuming.
Right. Right. And that's I agree with that. I think it's very much rose-colored glasses, right?
Yeah,
So, like you said, if you have the perspective of like, well, we're not perfect. There are things that are wrong, and they're pretty decently large subjects to we could improve. Well, then you're anti-American. Well, no.
yeah, because it's like
If you think everything is perfect, you are living with rose-colored glasses, or you just want to see it that way.
yeah, yeah, and I think that is like the bear in the woods question. Very what's going on. Like of this conversation, detractors will say, "Why don't you go over to Africa? Why don't you go over to some country that are with America?" Like, okay, sure, but like at the same time, why are those countries not on par with America? Why, if you're gonna say like, why don't you go down to, why don't you live in Gaza then if like it's so? Why is Gaza the way that? First of all, right? Like, how'd that happen?
Hmm.
Where'd that come from? And I think that's the part, like that's like the critical part that frustrates me. People on to like these, like these. Well, I mean, it's nature um of yeah, it's the nature of reactionary policy is they react to like the most thing and just go off the vibes, right? And like there's question as to what were like the antecedents of these events, right? Like, oh, Gaza, Hamas attacking, Israel. Why did they do? Like, yeah, they're terrorists. Of course they are. Why are they terrorists?
Right. What's their motive?
And then the next follow up, rather the response would be because they hate Jewish people. They have it in their charter, spell it out that way, and like they very clearly want genocide of faith. Yeah, 100%. Why is that? Where'd that come from? Why did people of Gaza vote for that? All right, and I think you have to be honest, and if you can if imagine that you are in the position of someone in Gaza or the West Bank, how do you respond? Like, what do you how do you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and find your way to America? You are born in Gaza. If like what the age under 25 or something over there. But like that means that since like 75, 80, the only world that you knew was that one, right? Like if most people that live there were born after 9/11, like that's what you know. And that's how you're by like the world about like what how do you get out of that? What are you supposed to do?
Right.
What's the solution? And I don't know what the answer is. I know that humans, when they are, feel like they're backed up against the wall, threatened, when they feel like they don't know what to do and they don't know what the answers are, very human response, they act in violent behavior. That's just behavioral. That's what happens when people are, in these desperate situations.
Right, fight or flight.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
And
we're mammals.
And if fight or flight, and if you can't flight, you can't leave.
Right. Because you're not just going to.
And like, we should be able to say that without people saying like, oh, that's, you're being so insensitive to the people who lost their lives, and like, no, this is horrible. Like, all life is all life is precious. Don't believe in God, don't believe in an afterlife, then life is very important, right? If you believe in God and you believe in an afterlife, then life is the most precious gift given to us. In either circumstance, life is valuable. So how does the life then answer the crime of, how does that solve the problem? Life is so precious that we'll kill proxy.
Right.
I'm not saying that, I'm not a pacifist. I'm saying that when there's indiscriminate violence, there is a problem, and that problem needs to be examined, critical lens, than saying one side simply,
yeah,
that is simple, general of a thrive upon.
It is, and
we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. The end.
Right, and the fact that all of these other nations of the world, because at some point the old boys club signed a treaty or a petition or a promise to each other, like the fact that America and Israel are buddies, and now Israel is just doing something horrific, but because of this agreement, whatever the fuck it entails, we are not, I'm gonna say such a mom thing, we are not putting the bad kid in timeout. We're letting the shit happen, and we're giving them,
I mean, we're encouraging it.
We're encouraging it. Yeah, we're giving them more means to keep being a piece of shit. That, I think, that is a greater problem than even the base issue. The fact that there are all these other nations and none of them are stepping in to be like, yo, Israel, what the fuck? Stop it. That's a huge problem. The World War III and all that shit. Like, I get it, I guess. Well, but I feel like out of hundreds of other nations, we could put Israel in timeout.
But the problem with that is any criticism against Israel or against what's going on is viewed that, like, it is quite literally a you're with us or against us dichotomy, and that's unfair.
Religion is bullshit.
Sure, and like this isn't about religion. I think religion is like being used as a cudgel against people here.
Of course,
like clearly, it should be obvious that I am not afraid of Jews. I'm not like scared of Jewish people. I'm not like I don't hate Jewish people. I don't believe that they I don't believe this. I'm not an anti-Semite in any capacity, unless say that anti-Semitism means that the Jewish state has the right to exterminate anything that would question whether or not the Jewish state should exist. I think that if we're unable to say, like, well, what do you mean have every right? Like, what are you talking about? I think that's, if we go back, all right. I don't think America have the right to completely destroy absolute anything that questions the whole point of America. Like, America itself was founded on whether or not a government could exist, and we responded to our oppression, violence. I would argue that what the British were doing to America was a hell of a lot less what Israel is doing to Palestinians. All right,
absolutely.
I would, yeah. I mean, it's like you're trying to. I'm going to stop rambling. Just going to say that I'm going to quote Arthur Miller from words of Reverend when he says something along the lines of, "Every defense an attack upon the court. Every defense of America, or I'm sorry, every defense of one of America's enemies, not an attack on America. Like defense of Palestine, defense of Gaza is not an attack on Israel. certainly not an attack on anyone that's Jewish.
Right.
But when we shape it to be that, you can't allow for people to critically do put people in the camp of right or wrong. You bifurcate the population into segments, whether you like it or not. You cannot must be in this camp. If you're in this camp, we're going to tell you what you're in this camp. We're still going to tell you what you can't. Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, back to the question, the man or the bear, it's not about man or the bear. It's about the backwards momentum first world nations are in right now. Backwards movement. And the fact that we are not helping other nations step up. Not really about the man or the bear. Still pick the bear.
Don't forget to tune in and watch more Escape Room Simulator.
You can find this podcast and many more on the diverse.
We throw out one podcast every 6 months.
Oh, like every 2 months. I mean, why me? It hasn't been that long. It's been like 2 months. All right, well, that's a wrap.